pigeons be going crazy around here. Look at this thing. Just chilling. Nature, baby, nature. So right now, there's this post on Reddit that is getting a lot of traction. I'm going to read it to you, and then I'm going to make my own comment on it. The title is this, and it's on TIFU, so I'm going to say, "Today I messed up by realizing what Christians and Muslims actually believe in." So that's the title. And this is the post. Hello. So as a kid, and I promise the setup matters, I was raised in an Islamic household. Thing with being Islamic in America is there aren't any good Muslim schools to send your child so they could learn both faith and have a decent education. So my parents decided to send me to a Catholic school, since it was closest to the values they wanted me to live by. At home, my grandmother would tell me stories from the Quran. I loved these stories, but sometimes my grandmother would stop her storytelling voice and use her fact voice, like she was telling me something that happened at the store. She was using her fact voice when she was telling me about the story of how a father had to sacrifice his son to God, but when he tried to bring down the knife, it wouldn't hurt his son because God had willed that his dedication meant he no longer needed to sacrifice his son. So I asked my grandmother if I could become invincible to knives if I believed in God enough, and she told me, "No, don't take the story literally, take the meaning of the story, aka don't stab yourself." So I was like, oh, all these stories are metaphorical. The Bible at my school and the Quran at home are both collections of stories filled with wisdom meant to be interpreted as the situation sees fit. Like a superhero story where Jesus and Muhammad are the main characters. They're meant to help the story deliver me a meaning like Ash from Pokemon. I think you see where this is going. I thought they were stories. They're not real. And I grew up thinking that these religions were a way of life, not to be taken literally. Cut to driving with a friend from school through California to Palm Springs to see her grandmother. We were talking about how hot it was, and I joked about how we needed a flood to cool us down. Where's God's wrath when you need it, right? She laughed and started to draw the conversation to her admiration of Jesus. We started talking about miracles and hungry people, and I said, "Man, I wish we could do those kinds of miracles for real. The world could use a few." And she replied something along the lines of, "Well, who knows? Jesus could be back soon." And I chuckled. Did that thing where you blow air out your nose and smile. I thought it was a joke. Like, Superman is gonna come fly us to her grandma's house. And she looked at me and asked me why I laughed. I told her I thought she was being sarcastic. She corrected me that she was not. Then I asked her, "Wait, are you saying like Jesus could actually really show up on Earth?" She got upset and said yes. Then the rest of the car ride was quiet. So instead of thinking Jesus is real, I thought, wow, my friend must be really gullible. Then once I got home, I told my grandmother about it. I thought it to be a funny story. Like telling someone, I thought it be a funny story. Okay. Like telling someone that your friend thinks elves are real. But she looked at me and went, "OP, Muhammad is real. And so is Jesus. What are you talking about?" For the next 10 minutes, we kept talking, and I started to realize that, oh my gosh, my grandmother thinks the stories are real. Does everyone think those stories about water turning into wine and walking on water and touching sick people to heal them was real? Lastly, I pulled my pastor aside at school, and I asked him straight up, "Is Jesus real?" And of course he was confused and said yes, and asked me if I thought Jesus wasn't real. I told him what I had thought my whole life, and he goes, yeah, everything in the Bible actually happened. So I asked him why none of those miracles have happened now, or at all, recorded in history. And he goes, I don't know, but the Lord does, and we trust him. So now, my friend doesn't talk to me. School is weird now, because all these ridiculous, crazy stories about talking snakes, angels visiting people, and being brought back from the dead. All are supposed to be taken literally. And asking questions about it isn't okay either, apparently. So, yep, that's eye-opening. That's a good story. Well told. Well told. I got a lot of comments for it, but I'm not just gonna go ahead and point out where I think she went wrong in her thinking, and the grandmother kind of didn't explain it the best if she walked away from the story of Abraham sacrificing his son with, oh, if I believe in God enough, I'll become invincible to knives. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to read some of the comments on this post, which are really good. We'll go with the top comment. Not being able to ask questions about it is their problem, not yours. People need to ask more questions, and we would have a better world immediately. People need to ask more questions, and we would have a better world immediately. Ask more questions, but the questions that she asked to the pastor at the end was, is Jesus real? You can't ask any more questions than that. That's the question. Is Jesus real? Another comment says, oh, this is her comment on, and I'm just assuming it's a her. It's written as if it's feminine, but, so this is her comment on her post saying, I'm not trying to be offensive, by the way. I genuinely made this mistake. Sorry, Muslims and Christians. Sorry, Jews, because I never learned the Torah enough to make the same mistake, LOL. That's really offensive, but I'm not gonna take offense to it, but I mean, it's almost written as if I'm not this, but here I go being this anyway. I'm not trying to be offensive, but here's something. She's blatantly saying that she never learned the Torah enough to make the same mistake. So she read the Quran, the Bible, not the Torah, which of course the Torah is in the Old Testament, but if you read it just as the 5 books, it does hit you differently. So she's basically saying, I never read the Torah, so I didn't make the same mistakes the Jews did. Man, oh man, oh man. People should think about things before they post. Okay, so here's a Christian. This is a Christian who is posting on it. We know he's a Christian because he says it in the first sentence. I'm a lifelong Christian and I took no offense. Okay? Honestly, I think you are spot on. What? Come on, bro, a lifelong Christian, and you're going to say that this girl's spot on? Come on. Most of these stories from all religions are parables that are meant to inform your moral compass rather than teach some historical fact. I don't think you've made any mistake at all. This is a Christian saying, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, and then they go and say like, oh, you're right. Woo, buddy. I don't think you made a mistake at all. When stories are told and retold so many times over thousands of years, they become exaggerated. I think taking these stories literally is almost dangerous, and leads to a lot of the extremism we see today in many religions. Okay. Trying to get to another comment. I want a good one. Give me a good one. Honestly, I'm of the opinion that if everyone took the Bible and any other holy text as metaphorical rather than literal, we'd all be better off for it. Metaphorical instead of literal. This is how I realized that I'm not religious. I grew up Catholic, but somewhere around age 12, I realized I thought of everything more as a weird story than actual fact. Weird. That's a very interesting word to describe. Just weird. Okay? And I didn't believe any of it. But I think religion, Catholicism at least, places too much emphasis on these stories are fact rather than the morals and meaning behind it. Okay? I know exactly how you feel. The brand new comment. I know exactly how you feel. I had a similar moment, and it led me to study religion as a whole for over a decade. Here's some of what I learned. Any religion that has deities thinks they are real. Most religions carry the same message overall, and all at one point or another have killed to impose that message. I would recommend you do a bit of research into this. I would be happy to recommend sources if you like. And then she says, I'm new to Reddit, so send me a PM so I can figure out how to do that. I would love your resources. Thank you. I just wanted to add religion isn't only something you learn but experience. It's important. Okay, so now we're getting, I found some people with some good. Just wanted to add religion isn't only something you learn but experience. It is important to learn, but without the experience, they would just be like stories. Similar to love, it's just like stories until you experience genuine love for someone. There are just some things you don't learn by pure reading, and religion is one of them. Okay, this is the best comment of the whole thing. This should be replaced with the top comment, because this is the best one, for sure. In fact, I'm just going to stop right there, because we're at 12 minutes. 12 is a good number, and yeah. So, that's the question. Is Jesus real? Well, I'll talk to y'all later. I love you guys. And gals. And animals.